Okay, let's take a look at defensive design consideration when we're programming. Now, when we designed our code for our project, we really didn't give much thought to this. We didn't understand the language enough to be able to play around with this. However, this is part of the exam, part of the course, so you'll need to sort of think about this in a very serious way and answer questions on it, particularly for your grade at the moment. So let's take a look at the big picture. I'm not going to run the presentation, I'm just going to run through some of the slides. These are available to you so you can go through them at your own time, but I'm going to try and explain one or two things as we go along. So really, how robust can a program be and protect itself against hacks and attacks? What do you think the word robust means? That's my first question to you. If you want to go and look it up, which I have done already, robust means strong and healthy, vigorous. I don't think vigorous really counts for this one, but strong and healthy is definitely a definition for robustness here. So how strong is the program? Can it protect itself against hacks and attacks? What are hacks and attacks? How can they occur? How can we do them, and how can we protect ourselves against them? Well, I'm going to show you in this video pretty much how we can hack and why we can hack, and hopefully that the programs are robust enough to actually take that into consideration. And I know mine aren't. So let's take a look at our objectives. It's basically we're trying to work out how we can be defensive in our program design. Obviously that's going to lead into the actual coding, but we need to know also how comments are going to help our design strategy. So when the programmer is writing, or when you're putting it in your design, you are going to write comments in there so that somebody else looking at the work can see sort of what you've done in the past, and if they're going to maintain your program, maintainability, they're going to maintain it, they need to know what you've done and how you've done it, and code can be incredibly difficult to read. So if you use comments to say what you're doing, then that makes the job of maintaining the program a little easier. And again, indentation. Not all programs use indentation. Python uses it naturally, so you're quite used to what we mean by indentation, but other languages just don't use indentation at all. So you could write an entire program on one line. It would be incredibly difficult to read, particularly with no comments or anything else like that. But indentation can help see where there are flaws in your code. And this is something else that we tried to do for our coursework, but kind of sadly missed out on really the big issues with it, and that is the role of testing. So really, we want to try and break the program, and that is the role of testing. So we are going to put in as many things to crash the program as possible, and really testing is going to show us what worked and what didn't work. And if there are any errors and we can break the program, then we need to fix them. And we can only do that by selecting appropriate test data, and I'm going to show you a little bit of that in a second. I've given you the link to the video. Please watch the video on a games crash by a notorious hacking group who used a denial of service hack to get through. But have a look, see how that affects the company. And again, there are 4 questions that you need to answer, which are on the slide. So that's the engagement activity that we're doing. So watch the video, then answer the questions. So the keywords for this lesson: data validation. You need to understand what that is. Data sanitization. Again, we need to understand and be able to adapt for that. Authentication, you've probably come across that. That's like passwords, so you can only log on when you're authenticated. Maintainability means you've written a program once, but now you've got version 2 coming out and version 3, you're going to maintain your program over time. Comments and indentation I've just spoken about, but we will look at those in detail a little bit later. So, defensive design considerations. Really, I'm going to just finish on this slide for this particular video. There'll be another one. I'm trying to go through them pretty quickly and keep the videos as short as possible with as much information in as I can. So it says make a list of where you commonly enter data. Don't bother making the list. How much of this is personal data? Well, let's take a look. I'm just going to go to sort of show my homework. And I'm entering data here. This is your lesson. I'm entering data there. I'm entering data there. I'm entering data with a drop-down list here. I can choose my groups here. I can set the dates. I can set the times. All of these are sort of danger points in the program where somebody can enter information in, and well, we're not really bothered what information we put in. We as normal people will just be nice and enter the right information in. But if I'm a hacker, these are sort of gold mines to me. I can try strange things out and see what happens, see if I can break the program, because if I can break the program, I've got a back door that I can get in to hack with. I'm going to take a look at that in a minute. So when data is entered into a program, it's important that it is valid in order for the program to operate correctly. And what that means is if I give it invalid data, so if it's, let's go back to this one, if I've got the date set here, now this is sort of checked, so I can enter the date in here, but if it was a really bad program, I might be able to get to this box and change it for, I don't know, 1920 and see what happens, see if it understands things. Maybe I can come here and put in, I don't know, 3,600 years or minutes or whatever it is and change it. Will it accept it? What will happen? Okay. So we need to make sure that what's put in the box there is valid. Otherwise, it's going to crash. Sometimes users will deliberately enter incorrect or spam data in an attempt to access program or program code. That is what hacking is. And I've got, I'm going to show you something now, which is, let's see if I can find it. There we go. We're into Windows 7 now. And I was trying to teach you about databases, and we never got the time before we were closed for the COVID-19 virus. But really, it's this item here, SQL, that I was kind of trying to get us towards. It is a language in a database. So I created a couple of tables with my comments in. That's what I was trying to get you to do. And I've got all of these comments. I've got an ID, a name, and a comment, an agenda. And these are all sort of protected. Nobody can see these. However, if I can use SQL, a language, I can start writing code and when I run that code I can get information back from my database. Now, nothing particularly astounding there, but imagine that this was a user's file consisting of the user's details, their names, their passwords, their addresses, their telephone numbers. If I could write a query to do that, so let me just see if I can pull out the names using a query. So I can just write a query, select a name from comments. Well, let's do it from comments 2. Click on go. What do I get? Billy, Susan, Joe, Mike. So I've got the information that I need, but I'm in the database and it's sort of protected. You can't get into the database unless you have the username and password to get in. However, if we've got a page like this, behind the scenes, the username and password has been already put in. So if I put a name in here, let's type Justin, make a comment, getting in, and post that. It's taken the username and password, and it should have in my comments 2 table, or am I in comments 1? So I can't see that one. There we go, just in getting in. So it's used the username and password and it's put something in. So I know I've got access into my program this way. Now, if I can start typing something stupid here, let's go to the view and we'll see. So here's my last one, just in getting in. If I can put something in here, name, so I'm going to use bold, gotcha. So I'm writing here sort of non-standard words. You'd probably just put a name. I've just put something in there, but I've tried to make it bold, so I've put HTML tags around it. And again, I could probably really mess it up by creating a form. I'm not going to go through it because it's too long for me to do, but if I was a hacker I'd be doing this. So I'm not putting actual things in, I am sort of deliberately trying to break it. So if I post that, it says new comment added successfully. My programming code that manages this is not very good. It is not protecting me against doing that. If I go to view, notice, look, I've got gotcha in bold. I've broken it. Somebody's sending in some homework for me. I've broken it. That could well be very dangerous. You know, I know I've got in, and if I really wanted to, I could do something called SQL injection. Now you've just seen me write in my database select star from comments, but I could do it on one of these forms. I could do select star from comments. This isn't going to work, but this is the idea behind SQL injection. So this is hacking. I am writing a SQL statement as I would do in the database, hoping that actually it's going to, instead of doing putting a name in, it's going to give me all the information back out. So that is what we call SQL injection. So if I post it, there you go, it accepted it. And even, oh no, it didn't. Let's start again. I had, obviously, let's take a look. Please complete all fields. I've validated some of the inputs. That means I have to fill in both of these. So let's try that again. So select star from comments, and this is not the way to do SQL injection. It's just an example. If you want to try it, you can select star from comments 2. If you want to try it, you can look up how to make SQL injection, but I think most companies these days are protecting themselves against this. So if I click post, there you go, it's added it successfully. I can view it, and yeah, it's just put the SQL comments in. But if it was a bad program, I might now be looking at all the usernames and all the passwords in the database. But as I told you, that is not the way to do SQL injection, but that is the idea behind SQL injection. So, sometimes users will deliberately enter incorrect or spam data in an attempt to access a program or the program code. So I've done that on a web page. That is normally where it's done. However, if you've got, if you've written a program in Python and it doesn't check the input, then again you could probably break the program. Somebody could break the program and get access to your code and start changing things, which is not very good at all. So that's the first part. That's our defensive design considerations. We'll move on in the next video.